What is address binding? Address binding means assigning an address to an instruction or a data variable is known as address binding. Address binding is a process of generating memory addresses. It means when an address is assigned to an instruction or a data variable. This process is called address binding. Types of address binding. The first is compile time binding. What happens in compile time binding? In compile time binding, it is already known where the process will reside in the main memory. Now, what we studied in absolute address, we studied that suppose we have an address 1, 2, 4, 5 and an instruction is stored at this particular address. So we know that this is the instruction and it is stored in this address. So this type of address is known as absolute address, where you know where the instruction is stored. So same way, in compile time binding, it is known where the process will reside in the main memory. Now, where it is used? It is used in small, simple systems. Second, load time binding. What happens if during the compile time the location of a process is not known? Then the compiler will generate a relocatable code. I mean to say is, if during the compile time the process location is not known, then the compiler generates a relocatable code. Before moving further, I would like to discuss the concept of relative address. What happens in relative addressing? There is a base address, and in this base address the process is not stored. Now, to find the location where the process is stored, with this relative address a displacement is added. So take the example 1600 is the base address and a displacement is 3. So 1600 plus 3 is equals to 1603. So this is the address where the process will reside in the main memory. The loader converts the relative address to the absolute address. Alright. So during this time the final binding is delayed. This is the concept of load time binding. The third type is runtime binding. Here the final binding is delayed until the runtime. If the process can be moved during its execution from one memory segment to other memory segment, then binding must be delayed. For this, a special hardware must be available for this scheme. It is also known as dynamic binding. Also, runtime binding is implemented by most modern operating systems.